The Ohio State football, a program so powerful it could probably win a congressional seat in most swing states. This is a school where Saturdays in fall are more sacred than actual church, and where beating Michigan is probably just as important as graduating. But in 2010, something happened that rocked Buckeye Nation to its core. No, not another Michigan loss. Those are basically tradition by then. We're talking about Tattoogate, a scandal involving 5 players, a shady tattoo parlor, some free ink, and one very sweater-vested coach named Jim Tressel. And believe it or not, those tattoos ended an entire era of dominance at Ohio State, so let's break it down. First, let's meet Jim Tressel, the man, the myth, the vest. Tressel became head coach at Ohio State in 2001. He won a national title the next year in 2002, beating a Miami team that basically looked like an NFL roster in disguise. And Tressel's team beat them with, well, a punter and a prayer. Seriously, Ohio State's offense in that 2002 national title game was not exactly the stuff of legends. Their quarterback, Craig Krenzel, was basically a human calculator who ran like a tax accountant and threw like one too. Their most reliable offensive weapon? That was punter Andy Groom. Dude had a leg like a rocket launcher and ended up being the most effective field position strategy that they had all night. Meanwhile, Miami had a roster that looked like the NFL Combine's greatest hits album. We have Willis McGahee, Ken Dorsey, Andre Johnson, Jonathan Vilma, Sean Taylor, Ed Reed. And somehow, Tressel's Buckeyes beat them by playing defense like their scholarships depended on it. Maybe a little help from the refs. Yeah, we still see you, controversial pass interference call in overtime. That win didn't just put Tressel on the map, it carved his face into the Mount Rushmore of college football coaching. From that stunning upset in the 2002 national championship through the rest of the decade, Ohio State was a perennial powerhouse. They reached the title game twice more, racked up bowl wins, and steamrolled the Big Ten year after year. So why stop this story in 2010? Because that's where the cracks started to show. That's where the dominance began to unravel, and that is where our story begins. It all started in 2010 when a Columbus businessman named Edward Rife, owner of Fine Line Inc., got raided by the feds. Turns out he was allegedly dealing drugs, laundering money, and giving free tattoos to Buckeye football players. The last part wasn't technically a federal crime, but for the NCAA, oh boy, that's the ultimate sin. You see, a handful of Ohio State players have been trading signed memorabilia, jerseys, championship rings, even gold pants for tattoos. Not cash, not cars, just permanent body art. And for context, gold pants are these little trinkets Ohio State gives players when they beat Michigan. So yeah, basically family heirlooms traded for tribal sleeve work. Okay, the main players in the scandal included Terrelle Pryor, the starting quarterback and former #1 recruit in the entire country. This guy was a walking highlight reel. Think Cam Newton, but taller and less subtle about bending rules. Along with Pryor were 4 other players: DeVier Posey, Daniel the Boom Herron, Mike Adams, and Solomon Thomas. All starters, all stars, all apparently really into tattoos. When news broke in December 2010, the NCAA suspended the 5 players for the first 5 games of the 2011 season. But here's where it got extra shady. They were still allowed to play in the Sugar Bowl game that took place a few weeks after the news broke. Because, money. Nothing says, quote, accountability like a punishment that starts after the big bowl game. Tressel, for his part, publicly expressed disappointment in the players. But what he didn't mention, he already knew about the violations months earlier. Now here's where the sweater vest starts to unravel. In April 2010, Tressel received emails from a local attorney warning him that his players were trading memorabilia for tattoos and getting involved with a man under federal investigation. That's the kind of email that screams, tell compliance immediately. Tressel? Well, he didn't. He didn't tell the athletic director, didn't tell the compliance officer, didn't even tell his dog. Instead, he forwarded the email to a mentor, and then, like a bad sitcom dad, just pretended nothing happened. Why didn't he report it? Tressel claimed he didn't want to jeopardize a federal investigation, which is weird because he's not in the FBI. He's a football coach. His job is to make sure players aren't selling pants for ink, not to star in NCIS Columbus. The cover-up became the real issue. Once it was discovered in early 2011 that Tressel had withheld that info from the school and the NCAA, all hell broke loose. On March 8th, 2011, Tressel was suspended for 2 games and fined $250,000. But then, more emails came out. Emails that showed Tressel hadn't just ignored the warning, oh no. He actively misled Ohio State and the NCAA investigators. In fact, he signed a compliance form at the start of the 2010 season, falsely claiming he was unaware of any NCAA violations. That paperwork lie was the final nail in the coffin. And by May, the sweater vest couldn't take the heat. Jim Tressel resigned on Memorial Day 2011, finishing his career at Ohio State with a record of 106-22. Just like that, one of the most successful coaching runs in college football ended not with a fumble, but with a forwarded email. After Tressel left, Ohio State named assistant coach Luke Fickell as interim head coach for the 2011 season, and it did not go great. Ohio State finished 6-7 that season, their first losing season since 1988. It was like Columbus got hit with a football depression. And then, to cap it off, Terrelle Pryor left for the NFL before serving his suspension, because when the NCAA closes the door, the NFL leaves the window wide open, especially if you can throw a football 70 yards on the run. Meanwhile, the NCAA came down hard. Ohio State vacated all wins from the 2010 season, including that Sugar Bowl victory, and got hit with a one-year bowl ban, scholarship reductions, and 3 years of probation. The fallout even led to Ohio State voluntarily returning $338,000 of its Big Ten Bowl revenue. That's like an NFL team sending Roger Goodell an apology check. Wild. The NCAA said the punishment was about maintaining the, quote, integrity of college athletics, which, as we've learned, is code for we don't pay players, but we make millions off their likeness. Eventually, Urban Meyer was hired as head coach, and the Buckeyes were reborn. But make no mistake, Tressel's exit marked the end of an era where winning was everything, where the sweater vest reigned supreme, where gold pants meant more than a Rolex, and where a few tattoos, literally tattoos, toppled a dynasty. Tressel didn't exactly disappear. He actually became president of Youngstown State University in Ohio, his old stomping grounds, because nothing says redemption arc like going from NCAA violations to university president. That's like getting caught cheating on your taxes and then becoming the new head of the IRS. But oh, it gets better. After stepping down from YSU in February 2023, Tressel made a surprising leap into politics. In 2025, Ohio Governor Mike DeWine appointed him as the state's 67th lieutenant governor following John Husted's move to the U.S. Senate. If you're more of a sports guy and not so much a state politics guy, the lieutenant governor is basically the vice president of a state. They're second in command and step in if something happens to the state governor. But I'll be damned. From college football to university leadership to the state house, Jim Tressel continues to be a Buckeye icon in the most unexpected ways. And do you want to know what's the most annoying thing about this whole situation? Usually when a college sports era ends like this, it takes years for that school to get back on top, if they ever do. Well, now for Ohio State, when they hired Urban Meyer next season after the scandal, the team literally went 12-0, but they couldn't compete in that championship because remember that bowl ban I told you about? So it only took until 2014 for them to win their next championship in the Sugar Bowl where they beat Alabama. And when you think about it, Ohio State easily could have had another championship if they were allowed to play in it for that 2012 undefeated season. So let's go back and ask what happened to that goon squad who got those tattoos and what are they up to now? Well, they basically all turned out to be busts in the NFL. Busts with dumb tattoos. Terrelle Pryor, the biggest name of the bunch, was taken by the Oakland Raiders in the third round of the 2011 NFL supplemental draft. He had a few flashes as a quarterback, including setting the NFL record for the longest touchdown run by a quarterback with a 93-yard dash. But after some rough seasons, he switched positions and actually had a breakout year in 2016 as a wide receiver for the Cleveland Browns. Still though, injuries and inconsistency bounced him around the league until he was out by 2018. Off the field, he survived a serious stabbing incident in 2019, and more recently, he's been involved in lawsuits against the NCAA over NIL rights, arguing he would have been a millionaire under today's rules. DeVier Posey, well, he bounced around the NFL before finding more success in the CFL. Herron had a brief moment with the Colts in the 2014 playoffs, but fizzled out after that. Mike Adams was a second-round pick by the Steelers, but struggled with injuries and now teaches yoga, which is admittedly a plot twist no one saw coming. And Solomon Thomas? No, not the 49ers first-round pick, a different guy. This Solomon Thomas never made the league and now works as a sales rep for a beverage distributor. So yeah, not exactly the NFL Hall of Fame, but probably some pretty interesting LinkedIn profiles. So what do we learn from all of this, if anything? Well, if you're an elite college athlete, maybe don't trade your championship gear for a tattoo. And if you're a head coach, maybe don't sit on damning emails like they're leftovers in the fridge. Because in college football, it's not always the loss to Michigan that hurts the most. It's the scandal that gets inked into history. And there you have it. This was the story of how a tattoo parlor ended one of college football's greatest runs. Stay classy, Columbus, and maybe just pay for your tattoos next time. If you liked this video, subscribe to my channel for more college football stories of glory and grit. Until next time.